Welcome to B2B No Bull.
That's right, no double speaker gibberish, no talking heads. This is a safe place to talk about what you as professionals in the space can do to look like heroes to your bosses, make sales very happy, bring success to the organization, and that bottom line. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of B2B No Bull. Mary Olivieri couldn't join us today, but I'm here. I'm Liz Brohan. And also with me is someone who never sugarcoats anything, yet still gets invited to talk all around the world. My brother, Mark Brohan.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. I like to think of this as kind of tactical honesty, if I may. And today's topic needs a big old dose of it. So manufacturers and distribution companies, in a lot of cases, are bleeding customers. And not because their products are bad, but because the marketing systems and customer experience have not kept pace with what buyers now expect. And it's an unforgiving lot. It's a digital lot. And we're going to unpack a lot of that today.
Absolutely. And preach to all that, right? And we're so lucky because with us today is someone who is an expert at helping us through all of this. She sees these problems. She solves these problems. She is Kristina Harrington. Welcome, Kristina. I have to tell you that one of the things that we love about talking to you is you have such a unique perspective to provide to all of us. I mean, you have been inside OEMs, actually, conducting digital transformation. And now in your business, I guess I should mention that Kristina is the CEO of Gen Alpha Technologies. And what they do is they now help all the other OEMs in the world also, take that digital transformation journey. So welcome. We're excited to talk to you today.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And it's really great to be here with the B2B Noble group. I think this is a fantastic way to just talk straight. Let's talk about what's going on out there. I love this. I just love the whole idea.
Well, give us a little insight into, we just touched on a minute ago that there's a bit of a divide going on out there, a digital divide, if you will. So what's driving that? What can you tell us about where this is really kind of, coming from?
Well, I think there's a few things that are causing it. I'm going to start with one that, unfortunately, I think it's just a reality for another couple of years, and that's that there's a self-interest by leaders at the top that they, it's not the way that they conducted business through all the years that they worked, and digital is unfamiliar territory for them. And many of them, preserving what they have today and what they know today, they're just not willing to, invest in digital strategies to meet the needs of the next buyer. So that's something that we've been trying to overcome for years now. And you definitely see that when a younger generation moves into the leadership position, decisions start changing quickly. So that's one thing. The other thing is there are legacy systems out there that have been making it incredibly challenging for businesses to actually move forward because the future in digital is all interconnected. Our systems have to be able to talk to each other. The way technology is advancing so quickly, we need to really ensure that we have good systems that can meet the needs of these technology solutions that are coming. So the old tech stacks have to move away, and the advancements there and the investments there have to take place. And then I would say the third thing is that, people don't fully understand the younger generation buyer. So they're not fully changing every aspect of their business in a strategic way to ensure that they're set up to meet the needs of the expectations of that next customer, that next partner in a dealer, distributor sense. As those people come in, they're just not set up from a training perspective. they're missing the opportunities to connect properly with them. So we have to overcome all those things in order to move forward and say yes to these type of solutions.
You know, you and I have toiled in the e-commerce trenches for a long time now, Chris, and 70% of B2B buyer decisions, which marketers live and die for, today is digitally driven, and it's 11 channels, 5 channels, 7 channels, depending upon who you talk to. But the point is that younger digital buying director or team, they want things in a self-service mode. And since you and I know something of the world of manufacturing distribution, I think distribution as a whole is much farther ahead on digitizing this, if you want to use that term. I think a lot of manufacturers, to your point, are still stuck and have been stuck for a long time, and they better get unstuck pretty quick. I mean, I've seen companies have to call someone just to find parts in stock in 2025. I mean, that's just a pure stress eroder.
Yeah. Why would we need to make a phone call for basic parts today? You know, prior to us jumping on here, I mentioned that I was going to be mowing the grass this evening, right? And my mower has to be ready when it's time for me to mow the lawn. You have a window of opportunity. So that means the maintenance of my mower, doing the oil change, having the appropriate OEM specific, guaranteed products to ensure the right fit for my equipment and that it's going to run well. That's something that I care about, and I know a lot of customers care about, right? But I don't want to have to go to the dealership to go pick that up. You know, I love the dealer when I want work to be completed at the dealership that I'm not comfortable with. But the opportunity to actually order an oil change kit from my distributor and have it arrive at my home when I'm available to do that oil change, that's something that's really important to me. And I know it's not just me that it's important to. So yes, I think when you talk about the differences and the advancements in distribution versus manufacturers, one thing that I think I've picked up on, Mark, is that many distributors understand the role of marketing and digital marketing. They've had to digitize their marketing for their businesses in order to reach their customers in the local territories that they operate. And, for many OEMs, specifically in the market that we serve, they have a very limited marketing team. Often they're still just creating product brochures that are very physical in nature, PDFs that can be sent through an email, but they're not really focused on a digital strategy. They're still doing preparation for trade shows, and a lot of the marketing time and spend energy is on preparing for trade shows and creating brochures for the next whole good that's coming out. But it's not really in necessarily making it easy for customers to buy from you. And that includes even their distributors. So I think that's the difference, is that distribution understands the need on the marketing side to reach their audience. So they've had to advance these digital tools where, manufacturers are still doing things the old way.
There's a lot of great statements in everything you guys have both been saying. What we're seeing still are silos that are kind of in the B2B marketing space, where marketing, sales, and customer service they're not talking to one another. And as you just mentioned a minute ago, the younger buyer, they are looking for a seamless experience, which can still be pretty clunky. So before I ask my question, I'm going to give you big props for mowing your lawn tonight. And now, you've got your, problem-solving hat on. Where do we start to solve some of these problems?
Yeah, I would say for the organizations that are stepping into this for the first time, one piece of advice that I always offer is to go to your buyers. So all of the organizations we talk to, right, they have a purchasing department and they buy. And I guarantee those buyers are using digital platforms today. And they'll be able to show you which ones they like, what they're doing that's different, why they like it, and how it solves problems for them and ultimately makes it easier for them to do business. So ask your purchasing department. The other thing I would say is walk through your customer journey. We all have a customer service team. And if you are still taking phone calls, emails, faxes, text messages to get your orders and answer questions for your customers and partners today, go in and look at those emails. Go and listen as a leader, listen into some of those phone calls. You're going to see the repetitive nature of the questions, like what's my price? When can I get it? Is it available? Which exact product do I need for the piece of equipment that I operate, right? You're going to see the common, more transactional type questions that come up that ultimately are creating the friction of getting information to your customers and partners quickly, that if made available online, you could reduce that call. So go through that, map the entire customer journey. Start from the initial email, phone call, all the way through to when you ship the product and whether that ships on time, because that process is going to open up areas for improvement, and it's going to define the requirements that you have for the project that you're going to, as you move into digital.
The customer journey aspect of all of this is really important. And I think what you were just saying to all of us is that marketing tends to look at the customer journey from a very high level. It's very segmented from awareness to intent, to loyalty. What you're telling all of us, which I think is great, is to map the experience of the customer journey and make sure that we understand what are the problems that are being risen, what other things are our customers saying about our products and our services. And that we're going to need something a little bit better than just a nice website to solve for some of this.
You're spot on. It's more than just a nice website. It's about modernizing the entire customer experience by giving your customers the tools they need, to do their job. Ultimately, in B2B, that's what it comes down to. Most often in B2B, your customers are not coming to your site to browse. They're there to purchase the things that they need to keep their own productivity and run their business. And the easier you make that, the more business you're going to earn. And my assumption here is that everybody that's doing business today wants to be doing business tomorrow. And that's why this is so necessary. This is where we're moving to.
I like to think that I like to say they got the memo. In other words, these B2B buyers are so exacting in what they want and so unforgiving for those who don't give them what they want that, the manufacturers and distribution companies as a whole, they got the memo and they know what they need to do. The problem is, though, this is not really a technology issue, although it's a key part of all that. It's a people and a strategic issue. And it's about making people more effective. But to do that and to kind of make your experience friction-free, let's say, it's got to be cross-organizational. I think that's where a lot of manufacturers have problems.
Yeah, the alignment across the entire organization is so critical. And this is where I think people forget that, yes, this is a sales channel. Yes, it will roll into sales, but the customer experience in digital actually goes across many aspects of the organization. And that's why it requires strategic thinking, because, you're going to choose a credit card provider, and finance is going to be heavily involved in aspects related to which credit card provider are we going to choose that, ultimately will handle our invoices. Are we going to allow our customers to pay online as well as order online? These decisions will be made more than, just the sales team. There'll be other departments involved. Also, when product is on hand and it's ordered, it's going to go straight to the warehouse without anybody touching it. When you're integrated to an ERP system, the goals of when the warehouse will pick up that order, pick, pack, and ship are really important. And also, when it comes to inventory management and what's on the shelf, we need to be looking at the analytics that come from a site to determine what actually we're going to put on hand. Because in a traditional setting, inventory managers typically just run reports out of the ERP to say, what did we sell last year? And let's put more of that on the shelf. Well, with an e-commerce environment and being able to see what people search for, what they don't buy, maybe because there was no inventory or possibly because it was the wrong price, you can pick up clues as to what you should have on the shelf. So that alignment between, who's looking at the website analytics and seeing what customers are doing that behavior, and then driving different business decisions inside, even your inventory in your warehouse with goals and specific metrics to make sure that you're capturing more of that share the next time they come in. So yes, alignment needs to be there. And, we talked a little bit about marketing earlier. Certainly sales and marketing have to come together. This is an opportunity for these two groups to work very closely. Marketing, handling aspects of the site, maybe triggered abandoned cart emails. They can be running their campaigns and other things that drive traffic to the site. And if there is missed conversions, there can be triggers to the sales team that give the sales team ammunition to go out and ask questions related to activity that have been on the site. So working hand in hand, they both can grow the business.
I also think that working hand in hand means you're going to discover who in these groups are good at what. You were talking a minute ago about, the need for more strategy. Well, guess what? You'll find people, as you collaborate and talk to one another that are very strong in strategic skill sets. And then you'll find other people who could be very strong in the analytics you were just talking about a minute ago. So it's not like we're asking anybody to go out and hire a bunch of new people. It's really just, a smart use of everybody that's already supposed to be at the table together. And then to your point a minute ago, all of this really would lead to really great retention, which is where we know businesses can grow revenue. So let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So customer retention, again, I work in the parts and equipment space. So we always say, and we know it to be true, that when you take good care of the people who own and operate a piece of equipment on that parts side, that service side over the life of the equipment, they're going to want to buy that next piece of equipment from you. And that's a piece of retention, right? We all know that it's more difficult to go out and find a new customer than it is to keep a customer. So you want to keep that customer because once they're gone, it's very difficult to win them back. So I think retention is very important. I think I've heard that, on customer retention, if you can increase a customer's, just keeping your customers by a 5% increase in that area can lead to more than 25% growth. So it's a bottom line to impact to your profits, to your revenue, and to continuing investment in your own business. So there's a winning formula when you focus on retention, not just the lead strategy for new customers.
Well, what I would love to learn or understand from you is you talked about marketing's role a little while ago, and, it's a little bit administrative, putting together sales materials. How can we help marketing evolve so that they're taking a bigger role in some of these more strategic or, fundamental activities like retention?
Yeah, I think, you have to invite them into the discussion. You have to share the metrics with them. You have to have open conversations. You have to include them in feedback and surveys with your customers to understand what do customers enjoy about your products? What do they enjoy about the service that you provide? Where are the gaps? marketing needs to be involved in aspects of what's happening in sales. They can't be left out of that discussion. They can't be left out of the customer relationship, because then they don't truly know how to write content to connect with them. They also don't know how to create campaigns or strategies to reconnect, or a great thing that we always say with a website and some of the analytics is that often it's what customers aren't looking for on your site that helps you realize that you have a gap. Customers may not even know that you offer that. Well, that's a great trigger for marketing, because now they become aware of a whole group of products that your customers aren't even searching for when they're on your website. So now give that to the marketing team as a goal for just general awareness. Maybe you create a banner. Maybe there's some coupon. Maybe there's some incentive to the sales team to draw more business and to increase that. But you have to identify first that there's the gap, and then give it to marketing to solve. And I think that's how you start working on real things that can truly move the needle. But they have to have awareness. They can't really support if they don't have the keys and the clues.
So how do they get invited to the table? Do they go to the head of sales, or do they go to their CMO, or do they go to their CEO and say, hey, let's get everybody together? How does that happen?
Well, it's definitely, to all the leaders out there, it's part of your role to help them. But I think, if a marketing person is listening here, and the role is going to be different at every organization. Unfortunately, there's no real key leader that is always the one that you can pinpoint, but it should start at the top. If the CEO is driving, or the president of the organization is driving this alignment between the organizations, and he's bringing people together, and he or she is asking the questions, then it will formulate an opportunity for them to come together. But ultimately, you need KPIs that align those two teams together. And wherever in your organization you come up with the strategic goals and the KPIs for your organization, that's what gets measured, gets improved. We know that, we've heard that. So you've got to select goals and metrics that align the organization.
Well, I'm going to throw a little Jerry Maguire at you. Show me the quan, and here we are yet again in another time of uncertainty yet again. And what gets whacked first? Marketing budgets, these kinds of things. And I just don't understand it, because the e-com team or the digital marketing team, they see the metrics, they know what's driving it, they know what to change it. But to convey that to the rest of the organization where they might not see the ROI, they don't understand the urgency or the importance of spending more market in a time of indecision to prepare for the future and frankly get what's left on the table currently. They don't think that way. They think the opposite, which is whack it, cut it, don't spend it, sit there, remain frozen. So my question to you is, how do you convince senior leadership that now is the time to keep marketing budgets constant or grow versus cut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big part of what we do. And I guess I would, put some numbers on the table, right? So I'll take an example. We have a client who's been with us for over 5 years. And if we look at some of the stats, I grabbed some, so I'm going to look at some of my notes here, because I knew you would ask me at least about some numbers and some aspect of this to keep it honest, right? Because that's what this is all about. The reality is, if we look at their full year 2020 metrics, they had 147,000 plus visits to their site. They had over 32,000 orders at that time. If I look now at full year 2024, they had 418,000 visits to their site. That's a 184% increase. right? And Gartner they did an analysis at one point in time that said that every phone call, email, transaction, and communication with your organization, so with your customer service team, your technical support team, costs your company $8.01. So that was the average, and this was back in 2019. I think we could all assume that that would cost us more today. But if you used just that $8 measurement, that full year 2020, they had a savings of $1.1 million. And
Wow.
in 2024, that was up to $3.3 million.
Wow.
Their orders jumped to 42,589 online. So a 31% increase in just orders. But, we know that companies aren't just going to your website to place orders. They're looking at tracking information. They're paying their invoices. They're getting technical documentations. There's so much more that they're doing. The other thing I would say is this organization in that same time period, they grew organically and inorganically, but they added 2 more brands. So they once they added those brands to their ERP system, the parts were immediately available on the website. So that was a tremendous opportunity for them to just bring these new businesses right online after the acquisition. So already they could extend the parts to their network. And the beautiful thing is they never had to increase their customer service team. So the ability to scale was there. So they kept the original team that they had, but they kept growing the business without having to grow the number of people. They just were using the people in different areas. Where they had to grow their people was in the warehouse. And that was to fill the increase in the number of orders that they were receiving. So that's just one example. And again, I'll remind people that there are so many phone calls and emails that are for basic things. Yes, your customers want relationships with you. That doesn't go away, but they also want a relationship online with you to easily search for products, search for technical documents, check price, check availability, order parts, quote parts, check the order status, right? These are basic things. And I know I'm doing it as a Gen Xer. I do it to make my life easier. Your customers want it easier as well.
That was all such great information, and we all need a little bit of time to process it. So in the meantime, why don't we have a little fun to wrap up today, okay? We're going to play what we call the lightning round, all right? We're going to show you some problems, and you're going to just quickly off the top of your head tell us what's the first step to solving them, okay? So scenario number 1, right? Small distributor, no e-com, no CRM, and all of their orders are via phone or fax.
First step for somebody, no e-com, there's distributor, is turn on an e-commerce site for your for everything in your ERP system that has an active cost. That means that you've purchased it or sold it in the recent time frame. By integrating your ERP system to those items, you'll have product information, you'll have pricing, you'll have details related to inventory. And then what I would say is look in your warehouse, because what you have in your warehouse is everything that's turning. So ensure you get good photos and good attribution of those parts that are in your warehouse. So start small, just get everything online and start taking orders.
Very quickly, a lot of manufacturers have a website, but to this day, one of the biggest disconnects between anything digital is the fact that they may have a glorious front-end site and a marvelous e-commerce platform, and guess what? The ERP is legacy and creaky and siloed, and the disconnect is what the disconnect is, and you can't do effective marketing if you don't have the data to get that out to the customer to make the transaction happen.
Yeah. You got to get on a robust system, but for sure you need to have your inventory and your pricing visible to clients. So if you're in a old tech stack and you're having difficulty, thinking that you've got this beautiful front end, but you're not giving them all the information because it's not integrated to your website or your ERP system. You're going to need to invest in a new ERP and get that information out there, because transparency is the name of the game today. If you don't have that information, they're going to somebody else who does.
That's a perfect way to kind of wrap up this exciting episode where you just dropped a ton of value on all of us. So let me ask you, if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you and learn more, how would they do that?
Yeah, I would say you can visit genalpha.com. That's GENALPHA.com. That's our website. But also please connect with me on LinkedIn, Kristina Harrington. Kristina's with a K, and I'd love to connect with all of you.
But what if you're on the tractor? What happens then?
I'll make sure to follow up.
All right.
I promise.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks ever so much to Kristina Harrington for all of this great advice today. We're always happy to talk about these things and try and solve problems that everybody knows is existing out there, right? We'd also like to thank our sponsors today. We'd like to thank the Motion Agency. They have been ranked as the #2 fastest growing B2B agency in the country. Congratulations to them. And we'd also like to thank Embas. They are a consulting firm that specializes in content, change, and strategy. So until next time, everybody, you can find us where you find all of your podcasts. And don't forget to take a watch of us on YouTube. Until then, keep it real.
Keep it real. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you both. Thank you.